However, there's another source that we can turn to in terms of the origin of the theory, and that would be real human experience. I'm presenting the idea of reincarnation as a viable theory of post-mortem life. I'm saying that human beings make claims that they remember their past lives, that they have participatory knowledge of past life experience. So one primary source is not simply the text or the traditional history, but the actual experience of real human beings. So how many people in this room think, just on your own here, that reincarnation is a viable theory for rebirth and human life? How many of you? You see, you know, they did a study of Americans in terms of religious beliefs, and this recent study came out. 1 in 4 Americans believes in reincarnation. That's huge. You know, that is the most pervasive and most popular belief, actually, believe it or not, in terms of rebirth. So it's a subject which really engages participatory epistemology, as my friend would say. That is to say, knowledge that you gain through direct personal perception and psychic awareness, dreams, intuitions. You've been someplace and you say, wait, I feel like I know it. Or you meet somebody, you feel like you've known them for a long time. These kind of perceptions are certainly a basis for the rising of the theory of reincarnation. So it's not simply a traditional idea, it's embodied in real human experience. So let's keep that theory in mind, because I'll be coming back to it. Now, the entity, this is here, the entity that transmigrates is in Greek psyche, and in Latin anima, and in English soul. And those concepts tend to be highly loaded, and particularly the word soul. It's always a difficult word to use because it's so imbued with religious ideas and a certain kind of attitude toward what will happen to the soul and what kind of entity it is. So I like to use the term psychonoetic entity or psychonoetic body as a more phenomenologically neutral term. It has no religious implications. It's simply a description of a particular aspect of human identity. It's really, it sounds like a fancy term, but psychonoetic, it simply means soul with mind. Soul with mind. You know, that which survives. So we could define it as an entity that survives death, sustains identity continuity. There's some connection to past life experience, and is reborn in physical form, and maintains cognitive functions. This is an important feature here. It maintains cognitive functions: memory, imagination, will, aspiration, self-awareness. And that knowledge, which is retained by the psychonoetic entity, is accessible to each person if they can access this deeper awareness. And we're going to see how that plays out in this process. So here we are, Greek world, and of course here's the homeland of the Greek world right here, and there's the very heart of where this theory develops. Now, it might have been some influences coming in here and down here. We're not really sure. And here's this little section blown up right here. So you see Pythagoras right there, island of Samos, and over here in Athens and Plato. So this is the aspect and where this theory really becomes evolves and develops. And one of the first things we have to look at here is the Orphic influence, because Orphic teachings seem to be one source where this may have come, and it's pre-Platonic. It's a very old tradition, 800, right back to that time when the Hindus were writing down the Upanishads, was this practice of the gold leaf idea. This is really blown up. I wish I could give you a better picture. I know it's a little vague, but you see those inscriptions there? They're actually Greek letters, and this is a thin sheet of gold, and this thin sheet of gold is rolled up into a little scroll. The little rolled up sheet of gold is put into a cylinder, and the cylinder is worn on a chain around the neck of the initiates in the Orphic tradition. So they have discovered some of these, right? And they've taken them out and they've carefully unraveled them, been able to interpret what the texts are, and they're texts which are give us a hint of the Orphic tradition, and talk about the theme of rebirth, because the texts apparently are designed to protect the person who wears it and to guide them through the process of the after-death process so that they will not have to come back, so that they will be able to safely make it, so to speak, not only to the other side, but into a higher realm, and not be forced to return. One of the inscriptions reads, "This is the protective saying that allows the devout soul to, quote, fly out of the cycle of weary grief." To fly out of the cycle of weary grief. So there's this idea, there's a cycle, the soul keeps coming back, it's a weary and grieving world, it's difficult, and if you want to get past the issue, you need to have one of these, and you need to be initiated. It's an initiatic tradition. You have to go through a special ritual process to be able to be prepared for the transformation. And this is also where the doctrine of soma sema is introduced. You see it down there, soma sema. It really means soma, body, and sema, prison. Body as prison. This is a very classic Orphic idea. The soul is trapped in the body and wants to escape from this entrapment, to return to the higher world. And many of these gold leaves show this. And they're buried throughout the whole, remember that map I showed you? They're buried throughout that whole realm. They're scattered about. We haven't got a lot of them, but we have maybe 30 or 40 of them that have been recovered. And this is simply an image I want to direct your attention to over here of Orpheus and the symbol of the resurrection. It's very much earlier than Christianity. This is like 600 years before Christianity. And this picture of Orpheus on the anchor, that's an anchor there. See the anchor? And it's this picture of him, saving people who are sunk into the world and lifting them up to the higher realm. And we're going to see some very interesting return of that image. So. There was not only an initiatic process, but also there was teaching that in order to really successfully to escape reincarnation, that one had to live a very disciplined life and to follow a particular moral set of teachings, and to practice the initiatic teachings in order not to have to return. Otherwise, what would happen? The soul would go into Hades, as Peter mentioned yesterday, and in Hades it would stay a certain amount of time for purification, and then it would be returned back to the world, and the soul would be reborn, and persons would be once again back in their human form. So it's a hint. It's not really a full-blown theory, because we only have these little texts. We don't have any really full-blown descriptions.